for me. Blood in my dog and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. And niggas trying to take my life away. I put a hole in a nigga for fucking with.
It is Wednesday now, so I started the manual swap on Sunday night late. Got the auto trans out, the manual trans in. This will be part 2, so if you want to see the removal and install of the manual, go back and watch the part 1 video, and that'll briefly explain that process. So a couple things showed up. I got the seat brackets. I went ahead and ordered some generic 240 seat brackets instead of just making all of them from scratch for the status seats. I'm pretty sure it just has one bolt that's needs to be extended on the bracket to reach the Skyline bolt hole. So I just went with some generic 240 ones, and then I'll just modify those on the 2 points instead of building them from scratch. Driveline also showed up. Got some gear oil for the trans. Got an oil filter to do an oil change. And a chunk of 3-inch pipe. I had some already for the exhaust, but it was going to be short. And then I also had to run to the welding supply house and get a new tank of gas and some new welding wire. But also I'll show you the exhaust tip. So kind of a throwback exhaust tip. I figured the burnt tip look would go really well with the midnight purple paint job. So I ordered a universal burnt tip 3-inch inlet muffler. And then from the downpipe back, I'm just building a straight pipe. So it should sound good. Might be kind of loud with no cat and no real muffler in the system, but we'll see. I had this piping laying around, and yeah, I'm super stoked on the way this tip looks. So that's how I've got it mocked up so far. So it's gonna stick out a little bit so it doesn't burn the bumper. Cocked up at an angle a tad. Yeah, the burnt tip looks pretty cool on the midnight purple. First thing I'm gonna do now, open the driveline box, split it, because I had to buy a whole driveline instead of just the front half. Take that front section, bolt it into the car. Should line up just fine. That's actually an R34 driveline, which should bolt up just fine. I didn't take the back half out because I didn't want to have to worry about it being different where it mounts to the diff and pull the C-clamp and everything out of the car. If I'm going to do 4 bolts on the diff, might as well just do the 4 bolts in the center section. And then once the driveline's in, I can finish tacking the exhaust together, yank it out, weld it up, and put it back in. And then the majority of the under car work will be complete. I got the exhaust all tacked together. It's pretty straight. Time for some YouTube magic. Exhaust is welded now. I can put it in the car and put the 2 hangers on it, and it's done. Driveline's in, exhaust will be in. Making some headway. Got off work at a decent time, so I'm gonna get back on the 34. And it's beautiful outside. Since I am doing the livery on the S14 in the next couple weeks, I just went ahead and pushed it outside so it can sit in the sun for a few hours today. Just let the paint cure as much as possible. I got the new clutch pedal and the new brake pedal assembly. Some guys will go ahead and just chop the automatic brake pedal and then just put the clutch pedal in and then put a rubber OEM boot on the brake pedal after they cut it so it looks factory. But when I watch those videos, once they cut the automatic pedal and then put the OEM clutch pedal in, the 2 pads don't seem to be parallel to each other. It's like the clutch pedal ends up further back in the foot area. It's not right next to the brake pedal. So I think I'm gonna go with putting the new clutch pedal in first. Obviously I gotta drill through the firewall to get the master cylinder installed. So I'm gonna start there. The brake pedal is the more pain in the butt part of the pedal swap. So I'm assuming that's why most people just cut it. First, obviously, you take this kick panel off, which has a little plastic screw in the back behind the gas pedal. And then this trim piece just pops off. You got to take the two bolts out for the hood latch, take all these clips off. And it just pulls out. Now we got all kinds of room. Also, while I'm under here, this cable here, you can see is right there. So I'm gonna just take that out since I won't need it anymore. And you can also see the cutout in the firewall is already there for the clutch pedal. So that makes it nice. So I went ahead and just pulled the insulation out, and you can see there's a template on the firewall already for the two bolt holes and then the main for the master. And then if you go in the engine bay, there's a hump section that sticks out so you can clearly see the square where the cylinder goes. So I just took a razor blade and trimmed around the square and pulled that out. So now I'm going to drill it from the inside. Just for my own peace of mind, I went ahead and punched and drilled 3 guide holes for the drill bits. So I got the 3 holes drilled out in the firewall. And if you look at the clutch pedal, so you got these 2 that slide through the firewall, and then the master cylinder goes in between. Then you also have that bolt right there that goes up top. It's already in the car right there. So I think I'm gonna bolt the pedal in now. If it lands right next to it, I don't really see the point in swapping this, which is why a lot of people just cut it. I don't have the bolts in from the master yet, but I got the top bolt in. It was actually easier than I thought. I was basically able to use this extension with a 12 mil socket, and it kind of just worked its way up there, and I was able to get on it and just tighten it with this just fine. Now I can see how the pedals line up. So that's all the way up. They're pretty much right next to each other. The stuff I saw online must have been the pedal just dangling like that, because it looked like it was way off. But that doesn't look bad at all. I'm just gonna start by cutting this, put the pad on, get the rest of the swap done, and then I'll see if I want to swap that out later. So here's the line that I had made to hook the master up to the slave. So the slave has a banjo fitting that sticks straight up on the tranny, so this will go like that and then come up and go to the master. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this on the bench. There's a fitting for the AN line into the master, and then the AN line fitting. That way when I drop it down in the car, I can just feed the line down and bolt the master to the firewall, and then do the line underneath onto the slave, and it's done. And then I can go inside and hook this up to the pedal. I got the clutch master in, got the pin hooked up to the pedal, and the master is fully bolted in. Now I just gotta go underneath and hook the line up to the slave. Success! I have a working clutch pedal. Master's all in the car. I went ahead and zip tied the AN line so it wouldn't get close to the steering rack, and rinsed everything with water because that brake fluid is really corrosive. So yeah, next step is going to be cut that pedal and put the pad on and see if I like the way that it sits. Big holdup right now is my OEM shifter. So I had to order it from Australia, and it cleared customs today. So hopefully it'll be here like Saturday or something. Went ahead and painted all the exhaust black up to the tip, just because it was just piping I had laying around. Wasn't polished or pretty by any means. So yeah, I love the way that tip looks. Let it hang out a little bit for all the rice, and so it doesn't burn the bumper. But man, the midnight purple with the burnt tip. Pedals are done. Now I see why everybody just cuts the brake pedal. It actually lines up pretty good. And it's so wide, you can cut it where you want. I set the manual brake pedal in there to kind of see where it would land. And then I tried to mimic that as much as I could. I think I'm within like a 1/4 inch or so, but here's what it looks like. Clutch pedal, brake pedal, even took the pad off the new pedal and put it on there. So yeah, looks pretty good, I think. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all the trim back in and then put this back together. I still waiting for the shifter, but at least I can get it buttoned up. I was getting ready to put this in and then realized it still has a Japanese radio. They only pick up radio stations from Japan. So you only get like 1 or 2 AM radio stations in the US with them. So before I put all this back together, I'm gonna swap that out. Much better. Now to put that back together. And then I can set the seat brackets in here and see how they fit. I'm gonna call it a night. It's Thursday now. I'm just mentioning the day so you can see about how long this has taken me, because the part 1 video for the manual swap I started on Sunday. I've got the interior put back together. I just set the GTR trim piece in there just to kind of finish it off. I gotta put the cluster delete bezel in. I gotta put the shifter in when that shows up. I gotta do the wiring underneath. I think I'll do that tomorrow. And then the seat brackets, they're a little bit high and the mounts really aren't close enough for what I want. So I think I'm just gonna chop all 4 mounts off and then just put them where I want and then just re-weld them. So it still saves me a lot of time, but I do want them a hair lower, and I might as well just chop all the legs off to do that and just re-weld them on, and then I can put the status seats in. And I'm also waiting for the steering wheel hub to show up so I can put the full carbon status steering wheel in. It's Friday now. I think I'm gonna start with the power steering and transmission lines, get that small cooler out and get the lines rerouted and all the lines I'm not using anymore taken out of the system, because those hard lines run up next to the block kind of by where the harness is. So I just want to clean all that up and then move on to the next step. Starting the car once I get the wiring done, and then I can figure out which Christmas tree lights come on. I know there's at least one that'll say auto. So I do want to get the car running before I do the cluster fix. So that way any of those Christmas tree light bulbs that are unnecessary, I can just remove and then put the delete trim on. Painting the R34 seat brackets. How come you're painting them, bud?
So I can put it under the seat.
And?
Put them on the R34.
Yeah, but why don't you just leave them silver where I welded?
Oh, because they'll rust like that.
Yeah, we don't want them to look like that, do we?
No. That's bad.
The holes all line up. And she's all the way down in the front and just barely off the ground in the back. I'm back on the power steering line situation. So what I've come up with is I removed all the small cooler from the right side of the front bumper area that was originally for the power steering. And I left the automatic transmission fluid cooler in because it's nice and big. The only problem is the power steering lines are this size, which is one size bigger than the transmission lines were. So in order to adapt the two systems together, what I'm doing is I'm cutting 2 of these ends off of the transmission line, because you can see it has a nice step in it. And this line isn't pressurized, it's just the cooler lines for the power steering system. So I'll have the barb fitting on the one end to go step down to the small lines, go into the transmission cooler, and then I'll just hose clamp the power steering line on the large side. and that'll adapt the two line sizes together and be the, I don't have to really mess with anything else. I'll show you what it looks like underneath once I already cut one off and got one line hooked up. So now I'm cutting the other one off, and then I need a hose to run. And I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's all done. But so far I haven't had to buy anything. I just removed the one set of parts that I'm not going to use anymore. And now I'm trying to modify everything to work with the existing stuff. So almost there. So you can see this is where the power steering line used to be. It just came out through here, and it just ran out here and came back and then went back to the power steering system. And those are the lines there that go to the transmission cooler. So this is where I disconnected the two power steering lines. There's one there and there's one here. And now you can see that hose runs down to the front cooler and goes to the power steering system. And then that hose right there goes down and connects to the bottom line. You can see the other line points up, so that's why it loops up. But yeah, pretty straightforward. It's nice and clean under here. I didn't have to buy anything. I just, like I said, I took these parts out and I disconnected the power steering system from here. And then I plugged the radiator, even though it's not, it all pretty much drained out already, but that's just to stop it from dripping over time. And then in the future now, if this car ever needs a new radiator, it can be replaced with a manual one, give you a little more water cooling capacity. And now we have more power steering cooling capacity. Where are you guys going?
Grocery shopping.
Just have Kai hold the steering wheel in the grocery store and leave the top down. All right, have fun. All right, round one with the wiring. Don't know what I'm doing. Done some research. Surprisingly, in 2024, there's not really a complete write-up on doing an R34 manual swap with an R34 transmission. Everything I can find is a Stagio with an R34 transmission or an R34 with an R33 transmission. So I'm kind of trying to figure it out. I'm not a wiring guy. So here's where I'm at. Here's the automatic. This back sensor here, I pulled it out. This is the speed sensor, so I know which plug that is on the body harness. And this black plug here is going to be the switch. So I did find out where the neutral safety switch is in the body harness. So to get the car to start, all you do is take the black plug from the auto harness and you join together the black and pink and the gray. That one looks a lot like a speed gear, and it's also a 2-pin. There's enough loom off here. I think what I'm going to do is just cut this plug off and put connectors on the end of this, and then I can just hook these two wires to these two wires and see if it works. Let's see if she starts. Hey, she runs. The exhaust sounds good. Got both of the seat brackets welded up and painted and ready to bolt the seats in too. The AT light actually was on and then it shut off. So I think I'm gonna just turn the key on and see where that bulb is and just remove it when I do the cluster anyways, so I don't have to worry about it coming on randomly. But now the test is going to be to put this in gear and then see if the speedo works. you got a speedo. There's the AT light. All right, well, as you could hear, the driveline was rubbing on the plate a little bit, but I think it's just because this tranny had a little bend in it from when it was getting banged around on the ground for a few years. So I can probably just straighten that out. But the speedo works, success. And I know the AT light where that bulb is, so I can pop it out. And the car starts and runs. Okay guys, with some help from Oscar on the phone, I was able to find the idle down and the reverse. If you're doing this yourself, you can do it right the first time. These 3 wires, you got the gray one, the black and pink, those start it, but then you also need to join the brown with the yellow stripe, and that's the idle down circuit. So you join those 3 together, and then you put a pigtail on it, and then that pigtail goes up to the forward switch on top. See, there's another switch in the back. This is the forward one. Then you take the red wire out of that same plug harness. By the way, this is the black plug, the 8-pin black plug off the automatic harness. So then you take the red wire, that's the reverse signal, and same thing. You splice that into the reverse switch. You take the far back speedo harness on the automatic, which is orange and black, and you just tie it to the 2 green ones on the manual, and you're good. So that's it. That'll let you start the car. The car will idle properly, the reverse lights will work, and the speedo will work. Now I'm gonna button all this up. I think this is gonna be the end of this video. We got the wiring all buttoned up. Me and Kai painted and made the seat brackets. And Kai helped me wrap up the wiring. So we got reverse lights, the car starts, it idles correctly. What else did we get done? Oh, I changed the oil. And I did the power steering and transmission lines. So we got that all sorted. So the next video will be putting the shifter in and the status seats, and then the car should be ready to go. Like, comment, and subscribe, like always. If you enjoy the content, we're just doing this for fun. I'll see you guys next time. You know what to do, Kai.
Bye.